My name is Lane Smith, and I've been a children's book illustrator and sometimes writer for about 35 years, I think, since 1987. However, whoever wants to do the math can do that. And before that, I worked in magazines and other areas, but I found my calling with kids' books.
Welcome to the Picture Booking Podcast. My name is Nick Patton, and I have the honor of hosting this interview today. Enjoy. So today we're going to talk about your latest picture book, Stickler Loves the World. So I would love for you just to introduce us to the story and or read a line or two from the book if you haven't.
Yeah, I do have it. I could probably, if I read the first couple of pages, that'll set the character up. It says, many strange creatures lived in the part of the forest where shadow met tree, but the strangest of all was Stickler. 3 new sticks, a brown one, another brown one, and another brown one, said Stickler. Why, even Crow will be impressed, and he's seen it all. Sticks. Stickler loved them more than anything, except maybe, and you turn the page, everything else. And then he just goes on a wild celebration of the world he lives in, about, pointing out trees and birds and moss and rocks and waves and everything. So yeah, it's I like setting it up that way because he's kind of an odd looking guy. So it begins all in shadows, and you're in this weird part of the forest, and there are weird creatures. But then when the fog lifts, you realize everything, all the other creatures are very explainable, except Stickler. He's still weird looking. He's lovable, so.
Yeah. How did the story begin? Did it begin with that weird character? Did it begin with Stickler? Did you have I guess I should just let you answer the question. But how did this all start for you? The seed of this story.
Well, my last book was a book called A Gift for Nana. Most people say Nana, but my mom always referred to herself as Nana, so that's the way I say it. But in that book, it's about a rabbit that goes on a quest, and he wants to buy his Nana the perfect gift. And as he's heading on his journey, he runs into the moon, he runs into a crow, he runs into a big fish, and they all have suggestions what the gift should be. And I wanted the rabbit to keep going into where the forest gets dark and the forest gets odd looking. So for that, I thought it would be appropriate to have an odd character in the forest. So I came up with this idea of a forest character made of wood, made of sticks, like you would find. And he was only in that book for 1 page, but I wanted to know more about it. So I couldn't get the Stickler out of my mind. So when it came time to do my next book, I decided to dedicate a whole book just to the Stickler.
I love that because it sounds like a plane. Like you're doing this one story, you add this weird character, and then he's just somebody you want to know more about. He's somebody you want to find out and flush out.
Yeah, I remember a John Waters interview I saw where he was talking about the Wizard of Oz, and he said, remember that last scene when Dorothy's getting ready to exit in the hot air balloon, and she's with the wizard, and she's got Toto, and they're saying goodbye to all the inhabitants of Oz. But then there's a lady in the audience who brought her cat. And Toto, obviously Toto's going to jump out of the hot air balloon and chase this cat. And I remember John Waters saying, I want to know about her. I want to hear that story, the weird lady with the cat. So it was a little bit like that. I thought, I want to know more about the Stickler guy.
So then how did you go about knowing more about him? How did you go about discovering who he was and what he was about?
Well, yeah, it was sort of a confluence of two ideas. First, I had this weird looking character, and I didn't want it to be a odd, scary monster. I wanted to upend your expectations and have Stickler be just a wonderful guy who wears its heart on its sleeve. So that was one. But also, I live here in Connecticut in the country, and we have 13 acres of pretty rural woods. And every morning, I take my dog and my cat out for a little walk, and the dog's on a leash, and then the cat's a scaredy cat, and she just stays close by, and they go really slow. And I guess because, and you probably do the same thing because you're a visual artist too, but I'm just in awe of everything. I'll say, "Oh my gosh, Lulu," that's the cat. Look at this rock. It's
Yeah.
it's got this. Look at the texture on this rock. It's beautiful. It looks like a face or something. And then we'll walk a little further, and I'll say, "Jojo, oh man, have you noticed?" And I'm talking out loud to them just because that's not that they care or listen or anything, but I just can't help it. And I thought it would be kind of a neat idea to do a book about a character who wants to introduce our strange, weird, and wonderful world to someone who's never seen it before. So I thought, well, what could that be? Well, it would probably be an alien from another planet. Um, but of course, in the end, we find out it's not an alien from another planet. But so the Stickler goes around saying, "Oh, to see it all anew, wouldn't that be wonderful?" And the Stickler then bumps into this three-eyed alien with a space visor, but it's actually a can of peas that a crow has gotten his head stuck in, and takes them all around and shows them all the wonderful things like the joy of rocks and waves and just every little thing. And then that was fun too, because then I thought, ooh, I'll get a chance to paint big rocks and get some real cool textural stuff going on. Or, oh, I could paint some tree bark. And it was really those two ideas. It was wanting to know more about the Stickler, and then deciding on Stickler's personality, which is just a big over the top lovable goofball. Oh, look at these things helicoptering down these seedlings, aren't they wonderful? So it was fun. I love making it. It was one of those books too, and maybe you have this issue too, where you're about halfway into it and you're still not sure if it's going to work, and then you finish it and you surprise yourself and think, "Wow, I really like this book. I would actually buy this book if I didn't make it." So I was really pleased with the way it turned out.
Yeah, that's always the scariest thing, right? When you're like, you know how much effort it's going to take to get this thing to where it needs to
Yeah,
go, and you're like, I don't know. It seems like a mess right now.
exactly.
I love the idea of so that character who the crow's got the can on his head. You're taking away his senses, and then he gets to see the world through Stickler's eyes without
Yep.
without being without using his eyes. And it reminded me kind of like what we're doing here right now, where
Yeah.
we've got this medium. I had people come to me and say, why you should do video. You could do the graphics and show the books, but there's something about taking all that away and saying we're going to talk about this visual medium because that just, I feel like it just, I don't know if it heightens it or if it allows us to talk about it in a strange, different way and see, and then you get to go pick up the book after you listen to a conversation like this and experience it in a different way, I think. Um,
Yeah, you're speaking my language because I was a weird kid and I grew up collecting old time radio shows. And when I was younger in the 70s, all my friends were into Led Zeppelin and, the
right.
Sex Pistols. And I was collecting cassettes and records of The Shadow and uh, Fibber McGee and Molly, all these old time radio shows, and they called radio the theater of the mind. And I think that's what I loved about it. I would fall asleep every night listening to some show that took you to another world. And we don't really have that too much now.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I love that you did that, and then it reminds you that you don't need it all, right? You don't need that burst of whatever is on TikTok or whatever other social platform that's got that 8 seconds that's just gonna, I don't know, you know, slowing down and taking your time with something is worth it, and taking away something,
Yep,
having
I
a
agree.
smaller.
I guess you'd be hard pressed to convince a kid, put your phone down. No.
All right, we sound really old right now, but that's all right. That's all right. I'll take it.
You're a kid. I am really old and proud of it.
So I love the moment in this book where, so the first couple pages, Stickler's, he's a weird looking dude, but he's got two eyes, and then all of a sudden you say, well, he's got eight eyes, and then you show us a picture of him opening all eight of his eyes, and um, I love this moment in this book because he's strange and he's weird, and then in that moment he's even stranger and weirder, but it's like it reminded me to reinforce this idea that you wanted to hit, that this character sees differently than maybe I would, and obviously he does because he's got eight eyes.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if that was just like a fun gag that you put in there, if you felt like that was an important part of the story, or how that came about, that moment right there.
Well, you probably know this from, when you work with an editor, sometimes uh, there's this negotiation going on. And my editor, who was a great editor for this book, she said, I don't know. He's kind of weird looking. He's got these eight eyes. And she said, can he have less eyes on some pages? And I thought that was the oddest request I'd ever heard. And I thought, what the heck are you talking about? Then it'll really confuse the reader. Is this the same character? But then I got to thinking about it, and maybe her thoughts were, let's tone them down a little bit. But my thoughts were exactly what you were saying, that maybe when Stickler gets excited, he opens all of his eyes, and sometimes he only needs a couple of eyes, and so I took that as an opportunity to embolden the story with a little more another layer of richness. So uh, this suggestion from my editor was actually something I embraced. And, and that's something that comes with age, because when I was younger, if someone had said that, I would have just said, no, what are you talking about? Uh, Actually, that happened in one of the first books I ever did, The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. We had all these meetings, John Sheska and I, with the publisher, and they said, can't you make the wolf more furry? The wolves have fur. The wolf should be furry. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to make the wolf more furry. But now that I'm older and a little more respectful, uh, I actually thought, wait, how could I make this work for me? So, and also then it was great because then I was able to put in the line. If you think about it, our world has some pretty weird stuff in it, said Stickler, opening all eight of its eyes. Oh, to see it all anew. Wouldn't that be amazing? And opening all of its eyes, all eight of its eyes at that point in the story, reinforced, I think, that the text that, it was gonna every day for the Stickler is seeing things anew. So yeah, but it also was fun to have Stickler's eyes ever changing. It just made the character a little more interesting.
Yeah, yeah. What it did for me is you I was listening to a podcast or something around the time when I first read the book, and they were talking about how, like dogs can't see certain colors and humans can see more
Mm-hmm.
colors. But then they went on and said, like, I can't remember what animal or yeah, what animal it was, but like I can't remember if it was a butterfly or something sees like more colors than us, and something sees like 100 times more colors than us. And
Yeah,
just like the world we live in and the restrictions that we have in these bodies, and then these other creatures are seeing a completely different world. And that's what that moment reminded me of. I'm like, whoa, yeah, this thing is
yeah,
seeing something that I can't see probably, and I have to respect what I have to try to listen and to what he has to say here.
yeah. That's good. I know. My dog Jojo is this little Shih Tzu, and we'll be sitting on the couch reading the paper, and she just jumps up, and I think, what are you doing? And I think she's wigging out, but she has heard my wife's car from half a mile away, approaching the house. I don't know how, the dogs supposedly have three times the hearing that we do, but I'm just amazed to think, hey, I can't hear a thing, but she could detect it. She could recognize that it's the clunky old car driving up the drive. And so, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Just walk me through the process of that you take when you're writing and illustrating a book. I mean, you could take it any way you want. But I'm just interested to know, like, how you start, how you go about the process, like you talked about with the editor, working through some of that. How does this all how does this all start for you when you're pushing out a story?
Um, I guess it's different. Um, if you're illustrating someone else's text or illustrating your own text, when I will work with a writer, it's always fun to interpret what they've written, and I like to surprise them too, where they'll say, "Oh, I love the way you illustrated that. I would have never thought of that." Um, but then when I write something, I can adapt the story to um, whatever I want to illustrate. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I might
Mm-hmm.
think I really want to paint big rocks. Okay, I'm going to add a scene in here with big rocks. And then you
Yeah.
just adapt the text to that. So I think illustrating my own stuff was way more satisfying. But yeah, I start writing and rewriting and then doodling, and I tend to do pretty tight dummies. A lot of times editors will see my book dummies and they'll be a little confused. They'll say, "Wait, are these the finishes? What?" And I think it's because even after however long I've been doing this, over 30 years, I still have to work out everything. I still am not sure maybe what style I'm going to use in the book or what textures I want to use. So I do paint studies and things as I'm doing the dummy. So sometimes you'll have some pages that are almost like finishes, and then you'll have the next page is almost like stick figures. But so I think I confuse editors a lot with my book dummies, but it's just me working everything out. And I do a book dummy, and then I send it to my agent, and he will send it on to my editor or maybe another editor. And sometimes they reject them. Just even after all this time, it's kind of like, oh, you're rejecting this? I can't believe it. It keeps you humble.
Yeah.
But I have I have flat files with what will become so many posthumous books. When I die, my wife can publish all these things that are pretty tight book dummies that were rejected. They all do that, when a artist, kids book artist dies. Then for 2 or 3 years, you start seeing these lesser books trickling out.
Right.
But yeah, that's what I do. I just I do pretty tight dummies, and then all the way up and throughout the process, I'm still tweaking the text and changing words. And sometimes I go too far, because I'm always trying to get the words down, get the text to a manageable size. And then I read the book a couple years later and think, oh, I should have kept the original version. I think that's probably better, but you never know. And it's all subjective.
Right. You always have that favorite line that you throw away, and then you think, we would you go back to it? I've done that. I've gone back and I thought, well, I should get that back in there. And I realized that, like, as nothing, the story has changed so much, and that moment doesn't even matter anymore. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So do you have a favorite part of making a book, or do you have a part that just seems like a slug?
I I am happiest when I'm doing the finishes. The doing the book dummy is, a little bit frustrating. You're trying to work out stuff and you drive yourself nuts and you rewrite it a million times. But the I'm so happy when I'm making the finishes. And then the part I don't like is when the book comes out. It's almost like you have a postpartum depression or something.
Yeah.
And I'm a little shy and reclusive and don't really like talking about my stuff a lot, and um, so it's uh, I'm just so happy when I'm making the book. But then, and I'm not on social media because I think I have such thin skin, it would just kill me to read some jerk, someplace who just says this book was terrible, meh, not for me. And maybe it wasn't for them, and that's fine. But it just kind of breaks your heart when you put so much work into something. So I think the only way I can keep sane is I just stay away from all that stuff, and I don't have Instagram or Facebook or any of those accounts. If people want to reach me, they can reach me on my old man website.
Well, there you go. I mean, you're building, I mean, your job is to create stuff, and you know yourself. And if that's going to cause you not to want to create stuff, don't do it. Right?
Yeah,
Make the
it's just
environment.
such a different time we're living in now, and I guess some of the you younger kids with the social media, you're uh, fine with that's it's always been around, but for old guys like me, uh, sometimes you'd read a letter to the editor, and the newspaper made a paper, and it would make me mad. I wouldn't even know, wouldn't even be my book, but someone would write something, you know, detrimental about someone else's work, and I get so mad. Oh, I can't believe they said that about the new Ray Bradbury book. That's not right. And then it would put me in a bad mood all day. So I'm definitely not on Instagram or any of that. People have told me, they say, no, you're on Instagram or Facebook. There are accounts with your name, and but it's not me. So someone, I don't know. I guess there's some sites that are Lane Smith, whatever, but it's not me.
Hmm. Well, yeah,
It's
that's
got my art and it's got my picture. One of them had my art up and my author photo and my bio, and then for my wife, they had some 25-year-old girl. It's like, that's not my wife. People are gonna think I'm a cradle robbing pervert.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know about any of that. I don't know about any of that. What well, I mean, yeah, you like so I was on it and then I thought, and like you were saying, like it's just not healthy. It wasn't I didn't feel like it was healthy for me. So I got rid of all of it. And then I've slowly brought it back just to post, when I have a new podcast out or something like that. But
Yeah,
I think they know that I don't care about them. Like I think the social media, whatever AI that's behind it knows that I don't care about this. And people who read it probably know that I'm not like into what's going on here. So I feel like it never got the traction that it used to.
yeah, that's the dilemma. You want to get the word out, and you come out with a book or a podcast, and you're proud of it, and you want to promote it, but you don't want to invite people to say that I dress funny. Hmm.
That's awesome. So what is see like you've said, you've been around for a little bit. What has changed in the bookmaking world since your career began?
Well, I think books are more diverse, which is great. That really needed to happen when I started. All the books were just, a bunch of white guys. So I love the diversity of characters that are in books now. Um, the I don't know, the whole business seems to have changed post pandemic, though. It's I don't know if you've experienced this, but it's really slowed down. It used to be you do a book and then the publisher would say, well, what's next for you? And now it's more like you do a book and then you follow that up with your next book, a book dummy, and you give it to your agent and he sends it out everywhere. And you just, it just takes a while to get answers. People are working from home,
Yeah.
and for me being a freelancer, it's not like I'm just dying to jump into something right away, but I want to kind of know how I'm going to spend my year, you know? So um, I am happy. I do these big fine art style paintings in my spare time. They're about 6 feet tall. And I love doing that, but I can't do that all the time because I don't sell them and I don't show them to anybody. I just do them for myself. So I have to at least line up a book. But yeah, stuff is just really slowed down. I don't know. The whole business is changing. A lot of people that are taking buyouts, a lot of editors, and it's just a weird time.
Yeah. It's and I think it's everything. I know like um my day job is a graphic designer and even that like just getting paper is impossible. Everything ever since the pandemic. And you think, oh, it's going to bounce back. Well, it had it
Yeah,
hasn't.
I
Things are
know.
completely different. And I think it moved everybody more digitally. Um
Yeah.
and it's just weird and
Mm.
it's not the way it used to be and I don't know.
Yeah. But everything's always evolving, and
Yep.
kids books is no exception. I just love them, so I just want to be able to keep doing them. I have some of my peers, old guys, just kind of complain and say, "Yeah, the whole business is changing." I'm like, that's good, but I just want to I want to keep doing them, until I die, the day I die. One of my favorite author illustrators is William Steig, and he didn't even start until he was 61, and he was putting out books until the day he died, and that's something to aspire to.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, since we're on the topic of the next thing, what's the next thing? Do you have anything lined up, or are you in a waiting pattern? What's the next project coming out for you?
Yeah, I've got 3 book dummies that my agent is kind of showing to people. One of them was actually it's sort of a follow up to the Stickler book, and it's a Christmas book, and the publisher just said a couple days ago that they're going to take it. So, and I was really surprised because I didn't think I would hear from them for a couple of months, but so that's
Nice.
nice because I could just rest and go back to my paintings, knowing that later in the year I'll have a book to work on. Um, and then I have a couple other books that are they're both wildly different, uh, and we're just trying to place those. It's great having a committed agent. My agent is Steve Malk, and he's just a tireless worker, and I love it because I don't have to get on the phone and talk about business stuff.
Right. Well, I've got one final question for you, but before I do that, I probably should have started with this, but I just need to thank you for the work that you've done. I remember when I was a kid, I must have been, I don't know when the Three Little Pigs came out, the book that you mentioned, but there's a couple books in your life or in my life specifically, that drove me into this, that blew my mind as like, this is what a picture book could be. And the Three Little Pigs was the first one. I must have been, I don't know, 12 or so.
Uh-huh.
And when I picked up that book, I'm like, a picture book could be this. This is a wolf doesn't have to be fluffy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
and it,
That
and
just that, that just seems like yesterday, but it's over 30 years ago.
yeah. So it was, just, thank you for your all the work you've done, and every book that comes out, you just feel like you feel the love that you have for this medium, and I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. No, I love it, and I try to experiment a lot with each book with textures or technique, and I think the books are all hopefully consistent, but they I try something different with each one. One will be kind of a blobby ink line, realistic looking characters, and one will be a stickler or a stinky cheese man type thing,
Mhm.
um, and it keeps it interesting just to try something different every time.
Well, my final question today is maybe an impossible one, but I'll ask it because I ask everybody. What's the best moment of your picture book life?
Uh, just I was always a solitary child, and I it's like that Brian Wilson song, In My Room. I loved my mom and my home life, and I just loved like being in my room and reading big little books, and I'm just blessed that I get to do that for a living now. I just I'm speaking to you from a 100-year-old restored barn, and it's just filled to the rafters with books, and I have every book that meant something to me in my life, and I just love creating books here. And I'm in the woods. You could look out and see bears and birds and fox, and it's just kind of a magical existence to create kids books in a beautiful old barn, and